StraihtAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you're expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you can use those personal initiative. What is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is why you need pressure, anxiety, and stress in your life. Before we get into it, let me tell everybody, I send out a text message every single day, free of charge. Not every day. I send out a text message intermittently. Right now, we haven't decided on what the schedule is going to be. I'm so used to saying every single day. So I said that almost by habit, force of habit. But it's not every day anymore. But we will be sending it out on a regular basis. Just haven't decided on what that regular basis will be yet. But there will be a message, and it will be regular. So in anticipation of that, you need to join my text community by texting me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And whenever that text message comes out, whatever format it will be and however often it's coming out, since you're already in my text community, you will automatically be getting that message however we decide to do it. So text me right now at that number that I just gave you. Again, 305-384-6894. When that message goes out, you'll be getting it. And you can reply to those messages and actually be in a direct conversation with me, which you cannot get anywhere else other than, drum roll please, Work on Your Game University. Only other place where you can work with me directly, talk to me directly, ask me questions, share your challenges, get answers directly from me is as a member of Work on Your Game University. We have a few new options that we are adding to the university as of the day that I'm recording this, which means by the time you hear this, those options are already there. We are, it's not even have to create anything new. We already got these pieces. We're just reorganizing, rejiggering how Work on Your Game University is offered and the ways that you can get involved. So any of you who was in a situation before where it didn't quite work for you, if you were priced out before, if you didn't see an option that made sense for you for whatever reason, the situation has changed. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, and by the time you hear this, whatever we have changed it to, it is there now. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Make sure you don't get left out in the cold as far as what we are doing in the university. That is the place that you want to be moving forward. That is where university is where my focus is going to be for the foreseeable future when it comes to business and how we do things here in the Work on Your Game world, as far as taking the next step and going further with us. Work on Your Game University will be the place. Right now, what we're working on is just how it's going to be organized, how it's going to be structured, and how we can best give value to people like yourselves and help you move yourselves forward. But it's going to be in Work on Your Game University, whatever it is, however it is, it will be workonyourgameuniversity.com. So that's the place you need to go. That's the place you need to bookmark. That's the place you need to be checking on. So with that out of the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is why you need pressure, anxiety, and stress in your life. Now, again, just like yesterday's episode, this is a counterintuitive point. Why would you actually want these things? These are things that many of you will probably think you are trying to avoid and stay away from, right? Well, that's the reason why Work on Your Game exists. One of the reasons that I exist in the marketplace. And we have an episode where I talked about this. What is your reason for existing? One of the reasons I exist in the marketplace is I take some of the common things that you have been taught, the common things that you have grown to believe, and I flip them upside down and tell you why they are actually not true, because many of the things you've been taught and grown to believe were taught to you by a bunch of average thinking and average performing and average achieving people. And since you don't want to be like them, you have to unlearn some of the nonsense that they have taught you. Again, in a loving way, they taught you some nonsense with positive intentions, but positive intentions don't make up for the fact that it led to bullshit outcomes. So today, I'm gonna tell you why pressure, anxiety, and stress are actually good things for you. Okay. First of all, let's define this word pressure, because this is the main word we're going to focus on, is pressure. Pressure is the use of persuasion, influence, or intimidation to make someone do something. This includes yourself. You can pressure yourself the same way you can pressure another person, and the same way somebody else can pressure you. This is a counterintuitive idea, as many people do everything they can to avoid these energies, specifically this pressure thing, in their lives. Today, I'm going to tell you why it's a bad idea to try to avoid and stay away from pressure, and why you actually need to embrace pressure and even create it in your life if necessary. Also create anxiety and stress if you need to. Let's get into it. Point number one. Time once again is why you need pressure, anxiety, and stress in your life. Number one, pressure moves people to action. Again, let's listen to that definition again. the use of persuasion, influence, or intimidation to make someone do something. That's what pressure is. You are using persuasion, influence, and intimidation to make someone do something. The reason why you want pressure in your life is because pressure makes you do something. It moves you to action. I've talked about action bias. Action bias is one of the 12 work on your game commandments, which I covered in, let me refer you to these episodes. Episode number 2219 through 2222. I talked about the 12 work on your game commandments. If you haven't heard those episodes. Episode 1199, I talked about developing an action bias. Episode number 2568, I told you the problem is you are lazy as fuck. The biggest problem many people have is that they don't take enough action. And when you do, you are too slow to take action. And then when you do finally take your slow action, you don't take it with enough force or enough clarity or enough force of personality to actually get anything done. So pressure solves all those problems. Most people's biggest problem is not taking enough action, and they are too damn slow when they finally do. Many of you have a think about it bias rather than an action bias. Again, episode 1199 is about the action bias. This applies not only to your physical actions, but also to your thinking and decision making. So many of you spend a lot of time thinking about something, but never deciding. All right, there's nothing wrong with the actual act of thinking, but you can't think about things forever. All right, thinking happens pretty quickly. Let me give you an example. Everybody here knows what an elephant is? All right, picture an elephant right now. Everybody got a picture in their minds of what an elephant looks like. Okay, so that's how fast thinking happens. So it doesn't take you 3 weeks to think about something. It doesn't take you 3 days to think about something. It does not take you 3 hours to think about something. That's not to say that you can't sleep on an idea or take some time to consider the permutations or the different ramifications of a decision that you make. But when people say they need to think about it, that's not really what they're doing. They're not really thinking about it. They're just trying to think about how they can answer a question that maybe they're uncomfortable answering, whatever it may be. But many people are way too slow in your thinking. You're too slow in your decision making. You're too slow in your actions. There are way too many delays in your behavior. Pressure forces you to move now. It eliminates delays. It does not allow for later. And it does not allow for when you feel like it. Also doesn't allow for when you're ready, whatever the hell that means. Many people like to use that phrase, when I'm ready. You'll never be ready. That's the whole point. That's the reason why you're not doing anything now, because you're not ready. You're not supposed to be ready before you do something. You wait until you're ready to do something, the opportunity is gone. It's gone. This energy right here, that pressure creates, that pressure forces upon you, this will help a whole lot of you get a whole lot more done a lot faster if you started using it today. But you have to either be willing to be pressured by something outside of yourself, or you got to be willing to put pressure on yourself. The challenge with this is many people don't want to do this. Many of you are so uncomfortable with the concept of pressure. Just even thinking about it, you're so uncomfortable with it, you will do anything to avoid it. The problem is doing anything to avoid it is the exact reason why your results are happening so slowly now, and you're not getting the outcomes that you want now because you are trying to remain in your comfort zone of no pressure, no anxiety, no stress whatsoever. Those things move you to action. That's exactly what you need. It's not like you don't have the ability. It's not like you don't have the intelligence or the intention. Only thing you don't have is the action. You have no kinetic energy, which is energy in motion. Many of you just have a bunch of stored energy, also known as potential energy. But potential does not sign checks. Potential does not pay bills. Potential just sits there in you, and it goes with you to the graveyard when you die. And that's why the cemetery is the most valuable real estate on the planet. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why you need pressure, anxiety, and stress in your life. Most people's default setting in life is slow and later. Those are 2 default settings you have. Your speed setting is defaulted to slow, and your timeline setting is defaulted to later. What you need to do is change both of these default settings to fast and now. I told you this in episode number 2648, how to get more life out of your life. Change your default settings to fast and now. That means when you take action, you do it fast. When you make decisions, you do things now. When you are anxious, stressed, and there's pressure on you, you no longer have the luxury of being slow and doing things later. That luxury is completely removed. Your options are taken off the table. You are forced to do something right now when you have pressure, anxiety, and stress on top of you. Now, again, many of you look at that, and again, you may be socialized, you may have some personal experiences, some lived experience, if you will, that gives you a negative connotation when you hear these words pressure, anxiety, and stress. I completely understand that. At the same time, I don't care. I'm still telling you, you need it. Pressure, anxiety, and stress. Any time in your life where you have pressure, anxiety, and stress hanging over you, guess what you had to do? Something. That's what you had to do. You had to do something because that pressure, anxiety, and stress did not allow you to do what you normally do, which is be slow and do things later and put things off and delay and procrastinate and take your precious time getting around the action that you claim you know you need to take. I talk to people all the time who tell me, I know I need to do this, I know I need to do this, and then they don't do it. All right, so if you really knew you needed to do it, you'd be doing it right now. You'd be putting pressure and anxiety and stress on yourself, whatever words you need to use in order to move yourself to action. If you really knew you needed to do something. I can't tell you how many times I had somebody say that to me. Dre, I know I need to do this. And then they tell me the reason why they're not going to do it, why they're going to delay and do things slowly and do things later and do things when they're ready and take their time. So you don't really know you need to do it. Because if you really needed to do something, you'd do it right now, right? If you walk out of your house and there's 5 police officers standing outside of your door with guns pointed at you and they say, put your hands up and get down on the ground, well, you need to put your hands up and get down on the ground. You don't tell them, well, look, I know I need to, but I'm going to take my time. No, you might end up dead. Okay, but the whole point is, in that situation, maybe you feel a little stress, maybe there's a little bit of anxiety, and there's probably some pressure. All right, so what do? You put your hands up and you get on the damn ground. Why? Because your options have been removed. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? You could remove police, and let's say it was some masked gunmen, some robbers, and they told you the same thing. You're going to do what they say because you probably don't have too many other options. This is the whole point. Pressure, anxiety, and stress take you out of your default setting. They shock your system and they move you to do things that you would have done had you had the right energy to do it. Well, guess what? Pressure, anxiety, and stress provide that energy for you. See, when you have pressure on you, you are forced to think fast, you are forced to make decisions now, and you are forced to take action. All 3 of these happen immediately. When you are pressured, number 1, you think fast. Number 2, you make decisions. Number 3, you take action. And guess what? These 3 pieces right here, if you, listener, just added these 3 elements to your recipe right now in life, you would get a lot more done right now, starting today. Should I say them again? You need to write them down. Think fast, make decisions now, and act on them now. If you just did that, a lot of things will change for you. Challenge for many of you is that you won't do it. Now, you might do it for an hour or two because maybe you get a little sugar rush from what you're hearing me say here today. But is this going to change your default? No, it's not going to change your default. You need the pressure on you all the time for that to happen. Because when this happens, you have to do things with a time mandate hanging over your head. See, you got to do things now, you got to do things now. I just told you, default setting, fast and now. Now means now. That means you have a time mandate, meaning you can't take your time anymore. I'm sure some of you are listening to this and it doesn't sound pleasant, fun, or relaxing, does it? None of this sounds pleasant, fun, or relaxing, does it? Does it sound uplifting? Does it sound inspiring to you? Any of you who's listening to this? Some of you may be saying, no, Dre, this does not sound like any of those things. And you know what? I agree with you. You're right. It's not supposed to be. I don't know if any of you knew this, but over here working your game, my goal is not to help you feel good. My goal is to help you do good. And sometimes to feel good, you got to do some things that are uncomfortable. So any of you who's ever listened to anything that I said or anything that I ever wrote, I had people reply to some of my daily motivation text messages when I was sending them daily, and they said, well, Dre, this message isn't very uplifting or positive. I say, so fuck what? Who told you it was supposed to be? I didn't tell you that. The message ain't supposed to be uplifting and inspiring. It's supposed to be motivating. All right, you know what motivation means? Look up the definition of the word. Nowhere in that definition does it say anything about being inspiring or positive or uplifting or whatever the hell that means to people. It means it's supposed to make it, what people are really saying is this message doesn't make me feel good. It kind of is holding the mirror up to me. It kind of makes me uncomfortable what you're saying. Well, you know what? That's what it's supposed to do. That's what motivation is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable enough that you can get out of your stupor, your sleepwalk, and actually do something different than what you've been doing. Because if everybody just kept doing the same thing that they've been doing, well, many of you, I don't think you want your life to keep going for the next 5 years the way it's been going the last 5. Would you agree or disagree? Let me let you sit on that question while I take a sip of water. I don't know where so many people these days got this idea that life is supposed to be calm and relaxing and fun all the time. It's not. Especially those of you who are ambitious. Those of you who have big goals and big dreams and you want to do things that are way out of the ordinary, way above average, you abdicated and gave up your privilege to things being fun and friendly and easy and relaxing as soon as you decided to have ambition. You have ambition, things are not supposed to be fun, easy, nor relaxing. None of the above. Zero. You're ambitious, you will constantly be in a state of pressure, stress, and urgency. This is just how it works. This is the trade-off for ambition, in case any of you didn't know. The trade-off of ambition is pressure, stress, and anxiety. That's one of the trade-offs, as a matter of fact. There's more than one trade-off. I'm writing that down because I actually like that. So in case any of you didn't know, all right, that's the deal. All right, that's the game that you signed up for. All right, it's called work on your game because you got to know what game you're in. Many of you appear to not know what game you're in. You want the game to go one way, but you're not actually playing the game as if you understand the rules. Good news is, one of the reasons that work on your game exists in the marketplace is to remind you of the rules. And some of you I've had many people get so uncomfortable once they find out what the actual rules are that they opt out of the game. All right, these are the people who stopped listening to the show, unsubscribe from me on YouTube, stopped getting my text messages because they found out some part of the game didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. It pushed them so far out of their comfort zone that they were so uncomfortable, they decided to just opt out of the game. Let me just get out of the game and go back to my comfort zone of averageness. Hey, their choice. I ain't mad at them. I mean, it's their choice. We can't save everybody. Only Jesus. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why you need pressure, anxiety, and stress in your life. Number 3, pressure and stress make diamonds, right? Isn't that what they say? That pressure makes diamonds? Pressure also bursts pipes. So which one are you? Are you a coal that's set to turn into a diamond, or are you a pipe, an old rusty pipe that just needs to be broken? Which one are you? The toughest, strongest, most valued things, people, and results in life are all a result of what? Significant tests, significant challenges. In episode number, I know I did an episode on this, so that's why I'm pulling it up here. Episode number 351, way back in 2017, I did an episode called Stress Testing. What is stress testing? Stress testing is like when a bridge is being built, the engineers who build that bridge, they test that bridge out to make sure it can hold more weight than what they will even post as the maximum allowable weight on the bridge. So if they say the maximum allowable weight on this bridge is 1,000 pounds, they will test the bridge out to make sure it can hold 2,000, 3,000, or 4,000 pounds. Just to make sure, just in case some idiot doesn't read the sign and decides to go against the grain and drive a 3,000-pound truck over a bridge that says the limit is 1,000 pounds. They want to make sure the bridge is not going to collapse and kill not only the idiot, but also all the innocent people who are on the bridge at the same time, because this mofo doesn't know how to read instructions. That's stress testing. They're making sure it's ready for that. When cars are built, they take a couple of cars, fully built cars, and they go and crash them up. They crash them into a wall on purpose, and then they film it and watch everything in slow motion so they can find out what happens when this car crashes, because somebody's going to crash their car. When we sell 1,000 of these cars, 1,000,000 of these cars, somebody's going to go out on the road and get in a car accident in this car. What happens when this car gets into an accident? We need to stress test this car so we know exactly what happens, so that we can keep the passengers in the car as safe as possible, and so we don't get sued out of business for not testing this car the right way, and something that we didn't want to happen happened to that passenger, despite the fact that they're the one who messed up driving in the car. That's stress testing. I've also talked about increasing your stress tolerance in episode number 2594. You need to be able to deal with stress. If you're ambitious, you better be able to deal with stress. You think you're going to fulfill your ambitions, everything being easy? Who told you that? Who told you that lie? You don't become a champion in life until you're in a situation that looks like a loss and you turn it into a win. Until you snatch victory from the jaws of what looks like inevitable defeat. You cannot become a champion only fighting easy battles. Diamonds don't get made without pressure. Greatness does not result from a lack of sacrifice. You don't do your best work in life until or unless there is a sense of urgency, hopefully self-created urgency. Your urgency shouldn't have to be forced upon you by some outside resource. You should force the urgency on yourself. That's when you're going to do your best work, because you will feel pressure to do your whatever ends up being your best work. You don't even think about it as your best work at that time, because you're just You're dealing with the urgent situation. You're just dealing with what's in front of you. But because you're dealing with what's in front of you, and you had to do it fast, and you had to do it now, you had to make decisions, and you got to pull everything out of you in order to deal with that situation. That's how it ends up being your best work. It's not that you set out and plan, hey, I'm gonna do my best work. No, it's just you deal with the situation and it pulls the best out of you, because now you're pulling on resources that you otherwise wouldn't call on, because in your previous relaxed, easy, puppy dog and butterfly's life, you never had to call on all your resources. But now the urgency and the pressure force it out of you. But if the energy comes from the outside for that to happen, so be it. All right, whatever works, works. Remember, we're in a results-based business. The story only matters if you decide that it matters. And you ain't got to tell a story when you win. Everybody else tells your story. You tell it if you want to, not because you have to. Recapping today's class, which is why you need pressure, anxiety, and stress in your life. Pressure is defined as the use of persuasion, influence, or intimidation to make someone do something, including yourself. Point number one, pressure moves you to action. The biggest problem many of you have is that you are not taking enough action, or you're taking no action whatsoever, or when you finally do take action, point number two, your default setting is slow and later. You take action way too late and you are too damn slow. When you are anxious, stressed, and feel pressure on your shoulders, you all of a sudden don't have those luxuries anymore. You start doing things fast. You start acting with the kind of energy that you're supposed to have all the time. And that takes us into point number three. Pressure and stress make diamonds. Remember that the trade-off for ambition is that you are not allowed to have things be calm and relaxing, fun and easy. You are signing up for pressure and stress. The toughest, strongest, most valued things and people in life are the result of significant challenge. You want to be a champion in life, you got to get in a situation that looks like a losing situation and you turn it into a winning situation. You are not a champion if all your battles were easy fights. Diamonds don't get made without pressure. Your best work is a result of a sense of urgency that is created by the pressure of a situation, because it forces you to pull all of your resources and use them all at the same time to the best of their abilities. Any of you can choose to do this at any time that you want. Challenge for all of us. We live in such a safe world with so many luxuries around us, relatively speaking, especially those of you who live in America, those of you who live in a modernized society. And that's 100% of people who listen to the show, because all you have access to the internet. All you have a smartphone. It's $1,000 device that is an MP3 player, a camera, a web browser, and a phone, all in one device. All of you have access to one. We all live in such luxuries that we turn into mental toughness wise, we turn into bitches. We turn into pussies because we have no urgency and no pressure forced upon us to pull the best out of us. The good news is, let this episode can be a wake up call for all of us to pull the best out of you just because you decided to. That's what the highest level performers do. You're one of them. Here's what I want you to do. First of all, text me so that you're in my text community whenever we decide to send out the message, however often it's going to be, and whenever I decide to call it. None of those have been decided as of this recording, but they will be by the time you hear this. Text me at my number. You'll be getting it, 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Next, Work on Your Game University. We are adding layers and levels to the university, make it accessible. We want Work on Your Game University to be the place that people like you who listen to shows like this, we want that to be the place that you are parking your vehicle in, is inside of Work on Your Game University. So we are adding levels and ways to access and different things in the university, basically restructuring. It's not even adding anything. I don't have to add anything. We already got all the pieces that we need. We just need to restructure it, make sure we have it in the right way so that everybody can get service the way they need to be served. We can help people the way they need to be helped. We can take people's game where it needs to go. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do in the university. By the time you hear this episode, if you're listening to this right now, the day that it came out or later, because I record these many weeks in advance, we've already made the upgrades and the updates. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, see what we have, see what we're offering, see how you can get involved and get yourself involved. We have something for everyone there at the university. So again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all